what if you had a voice that could rock out any kind of music? It's your gift, and then next thing you know, you can't sing. Well, that's what happened to my girlfriend, Melissa, who is with me today. Melissa Collins is an incredible singer-songwriter, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself. So, Melissa, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Tanya. So happy to see you. So honored to
Oh,
be
same
here.
here. I know. We're glad to have you. So, tell everyone a little bit about who Melissa Collins is.
Well, first and foremost, I am a Kentucky girl through and through. And like you mentioned, singer songwriter. I grew up singing, grew up in a musical family. It's just part of my DNA, who I am.
Yeah.
And I think that my purpose in life is to share the gift that I've been given and bring joy. I mean, that's my
Yeah.
whole purpose. Like, if you ask who I am, I'm a joy maker. That's
You
that's my
are.
purpose. Yeah,
I remember when we originally met. Was it 2000? What year was that?
six maybe,
It was a long time ago.
6 or 7. Yeah,
And we just so bubbly, so much energy. And at that time, I'd never heard you sing. And then by golly, this voice comes out of you. And depending on what you're singing, it's like for me, I'm just gonna make my comparisons, Amy Winehouse or Adele, like just
wow.
big, deep voices. Uh, so I can't even imagine what it was like when you were told you couldn't sing. Do you mind kind of sharing that a little bit with everyone?
Sure. Yeah. So, I've been singing, I say professionally, since I was 9, because that's the first time I got paid for anything, any of my services. And it was something that I I think after losing my voice, it was something I realized I was taking for granted because it was not on my bingo card for that to go away. So some health challenges caused vocal nodules,
Okay.
and it was just part of the disease that I have a rheumatoid arthritis. And so part of that, it's systemic, so it can affect anywhere at any time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I started losing the ability for my range. And so it was like this progression of, ugh, I can't hit that note anymore. Why am I so hoarse? What's going on? So finally, I had to call it. And I remember putting out a very emotional post on Facebook on my fan page saying,
Yeah.
guys, I have to retire because I can't do this anymore.
Mm.
And I'd gone to see a specialist, and they'd scoped the cords and said, listen, you've got nodules, and the only way to really, because they live in your vocal cords, not on
Oh, wow.
it. So they were through them, and it's like, we can shave those off, but I'm like, what are the chances of them coming back? They're like, pretty good that they'll come back, they'll grow back. And I was like, okay, so you're not going to go in and do that ever so often. Like, I'm not going to have that risk.
Right.
And I think you even remember there were times where I could, like, the effort it took to just speak was
Yeah.
so difficult. Um, and so you want me to talk about when it came back?
Sure. Absolutely.
The most phenomenal thing happened. After retiring, I went, because I'd been on the same biologic for a long time, which changed my life. But I didn't realize that those could stop working effectively. So I went to another doctor when I came back to Texas from LA,
Yeah.
and she's like, if you trust me, I have a new medication that I believe is going to work for you. And I remember, with this particular medication, it comes with a lot of patient support. So they came out to the place I was working, and the nurse asked me one question. She said, what is the one thing that you want from taking this new medication? What is the one thing you want to change? And I said, I want to sing again. And I remember
Yeah.
falling apart saying that. I was just lost it, because I was like, that's the first time I had said that out loud, because I
Yeah.
missed it so much. And I kind of resolved to, maybe it's never coming back, but there's always that little twinkle of hope that
Yeah.
maybe I'll be able to sing again. And so it was a different dynamic. This chapter is a little different because realizing that I took that for granted,
Hmm.
the music and the writing and the singing, because it's back so much stronger now. My voice is further than it's ever been vocally, and
Yeah.
with strength and control and all of that. It hits a little different because I'm so grateful to have it back, that I think it's a disservice if I do not share this. And if I do not get everything that I need to say out in case somebody else needs to hear it, I want to write
Yes.
the songs that I need to hear. I'm going to write them anyway. I'm going to sing them anyway. So, but if I can connect with somebody through that
Yeah.
gift, that blessing that I have, I want to do that for the rest of my life.
I remember your album, the major album, the first one that came out when you had moved to LA. You were on your way, and I listened to it back on, what is that thing called? An iPod? I don't know what it was.
Oh
iPod.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And by the way, I still have it, and your music is still on it. Hearing the songs that you have been writing and putting out, though, now versus then, they were great then, but man, now it's sort of like hair stands up on my arms,
Yeah.
you
It's come
know?
a long way. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot of growth in the storytelling. I think gets better. With age, you got a little more seasoning. You've got a lot more to say, and your perspective shifts. And
sure.
so that changes everything about it. In addition to that, I have an amazing co-writer who
Yeah,
has really changed the game, because I think I struggled lyrically capturing the story that I want to tell. And
right.
so I can write. I'm obviously from Kentucky, hillbilly, so I talk a lot, and I can just say a million words about one story, and she can distill that down into 2 verses, 3 verses, a chorus, and a bridge, and it tells the story perfectly the way that it needs to be told in the most succinct manner.
Well, and I've seen you two talk about the creation together, and yeah, you can see that, right? It's almost
Mhm.
like a yin yang. Now, I got to ask about this because it's funny. You grew up in the hills of Kentucky, as you shared, and you'll even call yourself a hillbilly.
Yeah.
What does that word mean when you say it?
Well, it's not so much, the negative connotations that exist in the world with,
Yeah,
being uneducated and kind of backwards. It's more about the resilience and resourcefulness of where I grew up. People, didn't have a lot, but we had music and we had each other and we had community and we had love and we had family, hard
yeah,
work, neighbors helping neighbors, and the flip side of that, going back to the negative connotation, I come from the Dolly Parton school of, you know, let's get this stuff over with and out of the way so then we can get to the music. So
yeah,
I just get those hillbilly jokes out of the way usually. I remember going to LA and people going, "Oh, you're from Kentucky, so do you have shoes? Do you have, all of the things?" I'm like, let's just get this stuff out of the way so we can get to the good stuff, you know.
yeah,
But once you get that out of the way, people, it changes their perspective of also hillbilly. So that's why I don't mind telling people and leading with that often, because it's part of who I am. The song Broke Up and Why that you probably heard is about life up there and revisiting home after a difficult period of being away.
yeah,
And the line in there, I can't run from my roots, but I've tried. You know, there have been times where you kind of shift back into yourself and you kind of pull away because you don't want to lead with that because you've gotten so much flack about it or whatever. And so anytime I've ever tried to do that, the authenticity leaves immediately and it
yeah,
doesn't feel right. And so just own it. That's who I am. I've come to settle into all facets of that because it means so much. The people there are so beautiful and wonderful and always so welcoming when I come back home. Like,
yeah.
that's just me.
Well, that particular song reminds me a lot of a song Carrie Underwood had put out, as well as one that Miranda Lambert had put out, right?
Hmm.
About growing up. The I'm going to shift though because I don't. I'm getting way off topic because I'm clearly we're friends, right?
Yeah.
I mean, clearly I adore you.
Yeah.
The
Same.
when did music become more than something you loved?
I I think I know the exact moment that happened. I was thinking about that not too long ago. I've always said I tell the story about my mom was my biggest fan and my biggest supporter,
Yeah,
and she always used to tell me, if you look out when you sing and you see that you've touched one person, then that's the entire reason for you being there. You've done your job as a singer.
Yeah.
And I remember I was singing once, and it was at church. The very first time I ever sang in church. And I'm singing How Great Thou Art. And I look out in the church, and I'm nervous, but I'm happy to be there because
Yeah.
this is what, I've been singing at home, and I get to do it, for the first time ever in front of a lot of people. And there was such an exchange of the people in those pews.
Yeah.
It was so, you could just feel it. And, I was 9, and I could feel, like, I knew in that moment that, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm meant to do. I can give emotion and get emotion back. I love the Dave Grohl quote, something, I'm probably going to butcher it, but paraphrasing, if you sing a song to 80,000 people, you'll get 80,000 reasons back,
Mhm.
of why they needed to hear that, their interpretations. It's such a mutual, beautiful exchange. And I think when you have that, and you have a reason and a gift that needs to be out there, that's your calling, in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think when we are leaning into what our purpose is given to us, right? We're all given gifts, different gifts. There's such a level of joy, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but if I get the opportunity to serve a group of people, and I had a call Monday night, 2.5 hours long, 125 people.
Mm-hmm.
But man, even though you would think it's exhausting, by the end, you're just amped. So once you're done performing and singing, where are you at afterward?
Oh, completely fulfilled, uplifted, cup runneth over, right?
Yeah.
It's so hard. I think that's part of the highs that exist in a lot of artists when they perform and they do, any kind of concert, like the coming down from that, because you've got such an exchange with people and all of the energetic things that are going on. Once you finally do, because you have so much adrenaline and so much going on,
Mhm.
the crash happens because it's been so much energy spent. Because there's only one way to do that, and it's to give every bit of yourself every single time. I don't think it could be any other way.
That's the way people should be able to recognize their God-given gifts, if you will. If it energizes you to do it, and then you have to like wind down from it,
Right.
right? Then clearly it's not something you just drug yourself through. It's something you got to do versus have to do, is what
Right.
comes to mind. I
Yeah.
completely skipped a question though. I wanted to make sure we got to.
Okay.
What did those hills give you that still shows up in your voice, your writing, and the way you move through the world? We're back to Kentucky.
Yeah, no, of course. Well, the way that I play piano, because, I grew up with a gospel family band on my
Mhm.
mom's side. And then on my dad's side, everybody played something with a string on it. So I was around music all the time. Um, the way that you play music when you're taught church chords,
Mhm.
and the way that harmonies move through people without any training,
Yeah.
right? It's just existing where you live, and you don't know that it doesn't exist other places. I think that sense of belonging and joy in music, and the resonance, honestly, of the hills, and the people, the kindness, again, the resilience, all of that stuff I've taken with me everywhere I've gone. Um, that's one of the things, everywhere you go, there you are, right?
Yeah.
um, yeah, the gifts that you're given when you're young, you might not see them then, but when you get older, you realize, gosh, that thing that I didn't like being raised with a garden, and
Yeah.
just all of the little things that exist in your little communities, showing up for people when they're having a hard time, and helping them pick up the pieces, I've had people do that for me, and I've done that for other people. And it's just kindness and joy and resilience and that resourcefulness. But the sound of the mountains shows up, the writing, the storytelling, because I mean, my dad, my papa, and we used to perpetuate tales. It would go on for weeks or months, and we'd tell a little bit of the tale when we'd visit. We're like, Daddy said da 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 da, and Papa said, well, you know what I heard, and then it would just be this made up tale. These stories we would make up. It was so ridiculous, but I love that, and so that imagination, helps a lot when you're trying to tell stories. If you can't imagine all of the things, that if you haven't lived all of the things, you can imagine the others. So yeah. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of threads that go through me from there.
Well, and I know you all have done a lot of traveling worldwide, and then you will be intentional to pick a spot that you want to record in. And when you were talking about your family, it reminded me of when you shared, because you said they all were musically inclined, right? Whether it was singing or strings. Where was it you were recording? And share a little about that scenario when your family joined you in the song.
Yeah, this is a really powerful story. So we were recording a song at Metropolis Studios in London. Adele, Amy Winehouse, a lot of really, really great artists have recorded there. And we had booked the largest studio there because that's where the piano was. Not because we needed the large studio, but that's the piano that I wanted to play, which, legend has it, it was Freddie Mercury's piano that was donated there. So I was like, I need that seasoning and that sauce that's in the keys for inspiration and osmosis. But this song broke open wide. My father was dying, and I had been telling stories there and back because we had to drive in the middle of the night. And so I was telling Savannah stories. At the end of 2 visits up there, she had been writing this whole time in her book. And so she hands me these lyrics. And it was all of my stories condensed into this beautiful song called Broke Open Wide. So I knew it was something special. Like, it was the most emotional thing that I had read to date. And we knew it needed to have a special recording. We wanted it to sound like you were in the room with me, just as if I were playing piano and you were listening. So we wanted the recording to be live, and sound that way. Just take one take through and have that's the track that we put out. So we had this room, and it was very large, very tall ceilings. They've got some partitions around it to protect the sound and, from bouncing around, a lot of microphones. And so I'd run through this song a few times, and I needed some help. And so I said a little prayer to my mom. I was like, Mom, because my mom was passed long ago, if you're here, I need some help to get through the song, because I need to get to that place that tells this story the best. And so I took a few breaths, and we finally got that take. That was the one, and we knew it. And we go back to the flat that we had our Airbnb, and Savannah's cooking dinner. And so she doesn't say anything. I don't say anything until dinner. And I said, listen, my mom was there, and there were voices like all around me. Like, I could hear them when I got to the bridge, and when it got to that final chorus, I could hear them. I could hear the harmonies as if they were coming from behind me all the way around. It sounded like an entire choir, and it was my family, and I knew it. And actually, I got this wrong. She told me my mom was there, and she could hear the voices. And that's when I told her, oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
They were all there. And I got goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps now because she didn't say anything about it, and I didn't say anything about it, and we heard the same thing. She described the exact same thing that I heard, and I was like, that is phenomenal. And that's how I know they were there. It was beautiful. It sounded like the mountains had joined us. The voices of the mountains and my family had joined us in London in that studio. They were all there. It's around that piano. And it was just like how we did it at home. You know, everybody's around the piano. So it was
And
crazy.
if people haven't heard that song, they really need to go listen to it. I know you have it on YouTube and you
It's
have
on
it on.
Spotify. Yeah, all the platforms.
Now, how do they find it though? Because I know that there's a little, it's not necessarily going to be found under Melissa Collins, I don't think.
Right. Yeah, it's MCSVG is what we were releasing music as. Um, so, and I think if you go to either one of our websites, we have links to them on there. So
Oh, good.
melissacollinsmusic.com, all the links are
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Well, which Mick Savage, I know why we're not even going to go as to why you're under that versus your name right now.
Mm-hmm.
But when you left to go to LA, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
got signed with a label.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It sounds like I'm saying it.
Yeah.
Your first release was nominated for a Grammy in how many categories?
It was submitted in 6 categories. Yeah.
Yeah.
For a song called Don't Give Up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible. And you were out in LA for how long?
About 7.5 years.
What did that season teach you about the dream and about yourself?
It was interesting because it's easy when you're from Kentucky. I say easy. It's easy to stand out when you're in a smaller community. As oh, that's that little girl that sings, or
Sure.
that's the girl that sings in this band or whatever. And then you go to a big city where everybody is there for the same thing. Now, I never felt um, like it was a competition. And I think that was one of the most beautiful things that I experienced out there was everybody was there for a dream and everybody was supporting everyone else. Like we'd all show up for each other at showcases or um, open mic nights. You'd meet a lot of the same people in the same season as you. And
Yeah.
then, some people would start to drop off because they would give up and you would see and they'd be like, you'd hear, oh, they've gone back to, Idaho or Tennessee or wherever. They were from all over, all over. But once I finally got signed to the label, which didn't take very long, I'm very lucky and fortunate how that happened. The people that you meet along the way are incredible, absolutely incredible. They show up. That's one of the biggest lessons and gifts that I was given there was learning that all you have to do is show up and be consistent
Hmm.
and opportunity will come, you know. So that is probably the biggest thing that I brought back with me, other than just, the knowledge of the business and how it works, how small it is.
Yeah.
You say that in every industry, like, oh, this is a really small world. It really is. It really is. And there's a lot of it, it's who you know. But the biggest thing is just showing up and staying consistent, saying yes, figuring it out later. Just say yes first and then you'll figure it out.
Well, and you've played in some pretty incredible venues already.
Mm-hmm.
Like for the musicians or the aspiring, artists out there, what were some of the venues that you've performed in?
Oh, the Whiskey A Go Go is like a really big one out there. If you get your name on the sign, that's a big deal. And I was able to do that, which was great. The Viper Room. There's Trip in Santa Monica. A lot of places, some festivals. There's the some music awards that happen locally that are kind of stair steps to, other awards and things. I wasn't really so much interested in all of those things, but the people that you meet along the way at those opportunities are amazing. And then that's the beautiful thing about LA. There's something on every corner, everywhere, every hour of the day,
Yeah.
musically. Yeah. So opportunities everywhere.
Well, now, when you lost the ability to sing, what did that silence teach you about who you are apart from the gift? Because so many, whether it's I've had professional baseball players, right,
Hmm.
authors, what have you, when the thing that they did was gone, they realized that their identity was anchored in it.
Hmm.
So what did you find? What did you learn about yourself once singing wasn't something you could do for your health?
Yeah, well, I mean, there is a lot of identity tied up in that, you know.
Yeah.
It's just I don't think it's really hard to separate the two when that's the thing that was always a part of you, you know.
Yeah.
I learned that I could still enjoy music, but I had to like cap it at a certain point because the part where I always want to jump in and sing along, you know, didn't really exist anymore. So I've always kind of had music in my head. So I rehearse a lot in there and do a lot of things. So it wasn't so drastic of me not singing on the outside because I'm always doing it in here. But what I learned was that a lot of my peace and happiness was tied to that. You know, the joy that existed in music for me and being able to share, you know, that was tough. That was tough. And trying to figure out who I was on the other side of that was very difficult. You know, that was a very dark period for me, you know, to be honest. And
Yeah.
it was a lot of I felt like I gave up. You know, I felt like I had just absolutely given up that that part of me and that joy in me and that extrovert that lived in me became very introverted because I didn't have that anymore. So I didn't know what to be without it. So I think until I decided to choose me and figure out how to heal that
Yeah.
and work through the trauma of that along with, you know, everything else that I might have carried with me from childhood, until I started making those choices, nothing changed. I was still sitting in a very dark place. And once I did that, everything started falling into place. All of the pieces of the puzzle started coming together. And everything started like I could see color again. I know it sounds crazy, but everything was so dull, you know, and I could see beautiful things. I could notice beautiful things again. And when the voice came back, everything changed again. Here's another chapter, another season, you know.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Tell us about when you figured out that the nodules had receded or were gone and you could sing again.
Well, I was in the driveway one day, fixing a carriage light or something, you know, household mundane something on that
Yeah.
day. And Carrie Underwood's song had come on. It was one of the ones that I absolutely loved of Carrie Underwood. I don't think it was a huge hit for her, but one of the tracks that I had seen her in concert, and she saved it for the encore. Like it's a really difficult song. And she just kind of, you know, I always say she Kelly Clarkson did, or, you know, or she Carrie Underwood.
Mhm.
I mean, you just sit up in this register for
Yeah.
so long in this song. And I just opened my mouth. I don't know what hit me that day. Just opened my mouth and tried to sing along, and I hit it. I hit the note and I was able to hold it. And I had strength and hadn't tried. And I just fell to my knees. And I just remember being in tears going, oh my God, I could sing. I could sing. And I was scared of it because I was like, what if that's it? At least I had that moment. But I was like, I don't know. Don't sing anymore. Hold it.
You're
Preserve
like,
it,
just
you know.
yeah, keep it for now. Don't tell anybody.
Just yeah, just hold on. Let's make sure this is a real thing. But from that moment forward, yeah, I worked back into singing, and I could get my stamina back over time just by singing a little here and there, and then it was back and it was strong. It was so strong. It was great. Really great moment.
I mean, think about the season today, right? And what you're singing and your range. And because clearly that's something that you would know very intimately. And before you were silenced from singing, how would you compare the two voices?
They're night and day. They're absolutely night and day. I don't think I trusted my voice the first time around. I think I was scared of what it actually could do, if that makes sense. You know, you just for so long when I was growing up, I didn't have a sound. I was singing other people's songs.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up singing Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, and Whitney Houston, and Tina Turner. You know, so
Yeah.
when you're singing cover bands and stuff, you want to get as close as you can to the original so that it sounds like what they're doing, because you're entertaining other people and they're expecting a level of keeping it the same, um,
Sure.
for enjoyment. And so I was really good at picking out nuances from other artists and being able to mimic those. But along the way, I started developing my voice. I don't even think I knew what that was in LA. I think it was just like, you know, the B side of everybody else's songs is now me. And what do I do with that?
Mhm.
I'm not sure yet. But the discovery of my voice, this once I got it back, has been amazing. And the stuff that's been coming out of me is just, I don't even know what's coming out of me, but I'm so happy about it because the emotion is clearly, the emotion and the truth in the lyrics
Yeah.
has changed my voice drastically, because, you know, now I have something to say, and now I have something to sing about that I have to do it. I have to make music,
Yeah.
and it's changed everything.
And clearly, I've listened to the new music as well, and the lyrics are pretty clear, right? And we talked
Mhm.
about this the other night at dinner, that there was some childhood trauma
Mhm.
that had to kind of be brought to the surface and move through. How has that journey gone for you?
It has been, quite the journey. It's been a lot of me figuring out that instead of walling everything up, and continuing to do that, that does not serve me. It doesn't serve my soul.
Yeah.
And I'm at a place where the perspective has shifted a lot on some of those things. Um,
Mhm.
and so I, you know, I think we were talking about the song "The Walls Remain"
Yeah.
is one I was actually singing last night. Absolutely fell apart singing it. Finally got the melody, and it's just very powerful. But the walking through those rooms of the walls that I built, I have to feel those emotions again.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't have to carry it with me. So speaking my truth in the moment when a trauma trigger hits, and saying the things out loud and having safe space to do that has
Sure.
been life changing, because I didn't have that previously. I don't think at any point in my life where I felt comfortable enough and safe enough to actually say those things. So once you start opening the floodgates, you know, the next time is a little easier, and then the next time is a little easier. And then so you get it on the outside of you. And so now you turn it into art, and you have something that you can share. You make something beautiful out of it that somebody else might need to hear. I sure need to hear it. I need to
Yeah.
get it on the outside of me. And so, just like any other thing, I remember originally with Broke Up and Wide, I couldn't get through singing it without falling apart. But the more you tell the story, the easier it gets. The more you speak your truth,
Yeah.
the less it hurts. And the more it's just, this is the truth. This is
Right.
what happened. I'm okay. I'm going to be okay because I have safe space now. I can feel it, and I can move forward from it.
Yeah. Speaking it out loud is probably the most empowering aspect because trying to hold everything in means it still has power.
Right.
And when we're able to just lay it out, it's as though that ability is gone,
Hmm.
right? So, yeah, thrilled for you in that regard.
Yeah, you kind of take your power back by
Yes.
it's your trauma to talk about, it's your story to tell.
Yeah.
It's not what was done to you. It's how you deal with it on the other side of that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the, and I'm not going to butcher what it is. I'm just going to call it the 50 over 50 because you're like, oh, so I'm like, I'm just going to let her tell everyone what that is. The,
Okay.
because I know you haven't, now have you written all the songs already for it before we even get into what it
Yes.
is?
Yes.
Woohoo! Okay. So
It's done.
share with everyone what is 50 over 50.
So 50 over 50 is a project by an organization called Talent is Timeless. And they're
Okay.
out of London. and their mission is to sort of promote artists over 50 and fight the ageism that exists in the industry. Because we still, just like you said in one of the intros, promoting this podcast, was that it doesn't have an expiration date. This talent doesn't have an expiration date. Storytelling doesn't have an expiration date. Music doesn't have an expiration date. And so the lady that started this is amazing. She's not 50, but she noticed that when she would go to these songwriter sessions or open mics or whatever, people were just phenomenal who were over 50. And she would say, oh, why aren't you, on a label, or why aren't you doing this or that? And it's like, oh, because they won't even speak to me. They hear how old I am and they just go, yeah, okay. So it's a beautiful community anyway. There's over 30,000 people, I think I read, worldwide. And so they were looking to do a really ambitious project, which was, let's find 50 people over 50 who have music ready or want to do a complete album, and we'll support them in this. And we're going to release all 50 albums on one day. And so I was like, this is crazy. But this was one of those moments where I was like, I don't even know how I got to this group. It must have been something on Facebook that I saw. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. I'm going to fill out this form and send them some of the music that I have and see what happens. I joined the community, and then I forgot about it. And like 2 or 3 months later, they had made decisions on who was going to be doing these albums, and I was one of them. And I was like, this is insane. And so I was pretty excited. And then it was like, remember I said earlier, you say yes and figure it out, because I didn't have all the songs ready. And I said yes, and then we'll figure it out. And then here we are. It's figured out. But it's a beautiful community. I've never seen such a supporting group of people who are so uplifting. And we have Zoom calls that have all 50 of us on there. Sometimes there's Zoom calls with 100+ people on there when we do master classes or just meet and greets and stuff like that. It's beautiful. Just a beautiful bunch of people.
How many people submitted for it?
I think it was over 600. Yeah, which I think is huge to have 600 people over 50 who want to do a full album and are ready to go. Or at least we're faking it if we're ready to go.
You're like, I got it. I got it. No problem.
Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
Well, now there are some other aspects to this too. I'm not sure if you're able to share, because you make it sound like it's not a big deal. It's a big deal though. But a lot of things you can't share right now, right?
I can share some things. Yeah, I absolutely can share. I think I can share all the things. Since we've been talking back and forth on our threads with some of our emails with everybody's like, when can we share this? So one of the big things that I get to do is I get to record at Abbey Road Studios, the most iconic studio in the world, apparently. So I'll be doing that the end of October. I also get a full orchestra, which I'm so excited about, which is going to record one of our songs on September 22nd in Budapest. There's an orchestra there, and our composer's out of Argentina. So I think we have like 4 continents covered so far. But the finale, we're going to have a couple of concerts in Nashville on our release day with this 50 over 50 artists. And so those performances are going to be at the Grand Ole Opry and the Ryman Auditorium. So lifelong dream, full circle moment. I get to go back and record at Abbey Road, and then I get to come to Nashville, where I went as a child when I was 11. I was offered a record deal at 11 that we couldn't do. My parents were like, no, you have to go to school. But I knew that when I was young that Nashville's where I needed to be, because that was our Hollywood.
Right.
Full circle. Now, almost 44 years later, I get to go back and get to sing and stand there on those stages that my mom said I would stand on one day.
You never told me they offered you a record label at flipping 11 years old.
Yeah. A very long time ago.
Please share.
So, I grew up, like I said, singing in church, and my mom was so tenacious. It was ridiculous, the amount of tenacity that woman had. She believed in me so much. And she had found, because there was no internet at that time. So
Okay.
if we would go on vacation to Nashville, she'd pick up every publication. And the back of those were like ads for a lot of things, musicians, producers, blah, 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 all the things. And she'd steal a phone book, like the latest phone book from Nashville area. She would do it from the hotel or where we stayed, take it home. And I'm the kid who's reading the liner notes on, Barbara Mandrell records and Dolly Parton records and who's playing
Yeah.
on who, Reba, whoever. And I'm learning all the musicians' name. And Mom's like, well, let's call them. And so she would call these people and she would be like, hey, my little girl sings and she's amazing. And I think if somebody could just hear her, and somehow or another, we got to this guy who had produced an artist called Christy Lane, One Day at a Time, back in the day. And
Yeah.
so he took an interest and wanted to have a meeting with us. And so he was ready to sign me. I remember we drove and the meeting was at nighttime. It was dark out. It was a weird thing, but this guy had records and notebooks and cassettes and everything all over his desk, kind of like the Diane Warren is today with her workshop. And he was ready to sign me, you know. 11 was a big year for me when I was 11 because I also opened for George Jones in this place called Star Music Land when I when I was 11, and he was at that time No Show Jones, and he would just be, he's drunker than Cooter Brown, and we don't know when he's going to come on stage. And I've prepared like 3 songs, and I
Yeah.
have to, and they're like, Luke, just keep
Do it
going,
again.
play it again, play it again, play it again. And so, the crowd's getting, pretty hammered by this point. And he finally comes, and I remember George Jones' manager coming up, and he's one of those, like Elvis Presley's guy with the cigar and the hat, and he's like, "We want to take her on the road with us," And my mom and dad are like, "Absolutely not." But I could have gone on the road with George Jones, which would have been a bad idea looking back on that now. But as a kid, you think, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to go on the road with George Jones." Yeah, I was mad at
Yeah.
mom and dad for a minute, but I appreciate it now.
That is madness.
It
I've known
is.
you so many years. The things next dinner, I want new stories. I want
Okay,
things you haven't shared with me this time. I'm just saying.
you
And
got it.
Savannah, if you're watching, you heard that. Okay. All right. All right. So the season feels less like a comeback and more like a rebirth. What feels different about Melissa now?
This is the most beautiful, honest, and healed version of me that's ever existed. And I think that when you live your authentic self and you're being your authentic self, everything feels different.
Yeah.
Everything hits different. The emotions that are running through these songs, like we're covering a lot of ground. There's a lot. I can say this actually because I sent the email out to the email group for the music that I keep everybody, the VIPs.
Yeah.
The album name is called Kaleidoscope. And so it covers a lot of ground emotionally and a lot of colors. The seasons of life are all different colors. Music, it's all different genres. There's not just one thing. And so I think we talked about the kaleidoscope story. Um, and it really touched me. The one from the cathedral where there was a cathedral. I'm getting off base here, but this artist in the Netherlands had made this beautiful stained glass window in this cathedral, and there was a story that was behind it in a digital platform. This gentleman was so kind and told us the story behind it. Her great uncle was in one of the world wars, and a cathedral in France had been destroyed, and he had picked up some of the stained glass pieces and put them in his pocket and took them home with him, and he eventually made a kaleidoscope, which she has. And so it stuck with her all her life. And so she wanted to make this stained glass window when she was commissioned to do this, but she wanted to honor that memory of her great uncle. And so this window is beautiful. It is amazing. And that story touched me so much. So I kept the kaleidoscope idea with me. And it resonated a lot because I've always sang music that was all different genres. And so I
Yeah.
can't just commit to one because wherever the lyric takes the song musically, that's where I want it to go. So it felt like breathing that life into the music with this new healed version of me. being able to sing about those things, and being able to finally tell those stories from that healed version of me. That's what's different. Everything is hitting a little differently. It's the magnitude of, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just so huge for me. These are stories that I've never been able to tell, stories I never wanted to tell, that I'm able to get out now. And there's joy, there's happiness, there's gospel, there's sadness, there's really dark rock, there's a disco song on this thing. It's all over the place, but every bit of it is a part of who I am. It's one of those, this is the record I want to hear. If I were to make a mixtape, this is what I would want to hear to just get me amped and pumped. Everything on here, I'm loving it so much. It's like the best part of my life right now.
And I love, we were talking ageism not 5 minutes ago, and then you talk about a mixed tape,
Yeah.
right? Back when we used to listen to the radio and wait so you could hit the
Yes.
record button so it
Yes.
could record the song, and then you're like, oh, there's my other song I want.
Yeah. You get so mad if the DJ talked over it. You're like, dang it.
Yeah, you're like, why'd you do that? I think even now, within radio stations or what have you, they've got a little counter. They can only talk until the lyrics start, right? And they have their sets by the time the lyrics get there.
Yeah. I mean, if you need to make a mixtape, you can do it still, I'm sure, somewhere.
So now a lot of people, they think the dream has to happen young or it doesn't count. What do you know now that you could not have known at 25? And I know we've talked around some of this, but a big part of the podcast is helping somebody who's lost or doesn't know what to do next. And there's going to be somebody watching now or catch it in replay as well that needs your direction, your mentorship.
Yeah. I mean, at 25, I don't even think, you think you'll always be that. You think you'll always be 25 and hot stuff and you'll be able to sing and do all the things. And the world revolves around you, and it absolutely does not. You have to guide and steer your own ship.
Yeah.
Things don't just come to you automatically. So you have to show up and you have to keep going even when you don't want to keep going. I can't tell you how many times I've quit. Oh my gosh. I mean, I've quit so many times out of frustration of not getting anywhere and, or not meeting the right people or spending too much time on one thing that's not working. And, and every single time I quit, the reason I did it was because I wasn't doing what I needed to do. It wasn't because the system wasn't working. It's because I wasn't working for me. I wasn't doing the things I needed to do to show up and be consistent and put myself out there and not worry about the no's and not worry about how you look and not worry about if you sound stupid. You do all the things if this is what you want to do. And regardless of what happens, know that you're going to get 1,000 no's and you're going to get one yes. And that one yes is going to energize you and probably change your life. But opportunity meets preparation. And so you have to be ready when it comes. And if not, like I said, you got to fake it. Like you can be, but you have to have that preparation inside yourself. Even if you're not ready for the project, you know that you can bring it.
The biggest piece that stands out in what you just said was being self-accountable.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, people have to be self-accountable. And then the second piece of that is to say yes. I had Tony Jury on the podcast. He's the results guy, was Zig Ziglar's business partner for almost 20 years. Again, age, telling my age. And he said yes to a free gig. Well, that free gig turned into a $10 million contract, right? Yeah. But so many people say no. Right. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people would have an opportunity in front of them and then they say no?
Well, either they're not ready,
okay,
or they're hung up on being paid for it. I'll go back to what I learned in LA. One of the musicians that I absolutely adore said, don't ever worry about the money. The money will come. Just show up.
Yeah.
And the other piece of advice is, don't do this for the money. Don't do it, because if you're doing it for that, that's all the wrong reasons to go into it. Don't do it to get famous. That's not a thing. Don't chase that. You chase what
Yeah.
makes you happy, and you chase the thing that you have to say and the gift that you have to give. That's what you put out there. But if you chase
Yeah.
the dream for the wrong things, the dream's not going to come.
No, that hits me. And what happens is I don't think anybody goes into life expecting to worship idols, if you will, but
Mm-hmm.
fame and money very easily can be a downturn,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then we turn away from the things that we are given, like joy and peace, right? The aspects that really are fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's about if anything's ever about money, people don't stick with it. But and as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about different artists, Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
I won't name them, of course, but you can almost their songs sound like they're only doing it because they're getting paid.
Right.
Whether it's because it's over synthesized, it's too almost like game.
Formulaic.
Yeah, and you're just like, I don't like anything about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that's the psychology behind the formula. It exists for a reason, because of we've been programmed to listen to music a certain way, and there's a lot of facets of formula that work because the same 10 songs are played on the radio every hour. Like, it's repetition, and it's what you get used to hearing. So
sure.
that's what you think is going to make you happy as a listener. But people nowadays, with streaming and the vast catalog that they have at their fingertips, they pick what they want. And so it's a different time. Like, I think record companies and the way that music companies operate, they're having to shift because of that. Because, the artist down the street who's never sang before, she can put out a song tonight if she wants to. It's so easy to do that. So everybody has a place, and everybody has somebody who could possibly listen. Listen, we're making this music. I don't care if anybody hears it. Like I said, we have to do it. I have to sing. I have to put this music out. I've got to get this on the outside of me. I'm making something beautiful. That's something that I want to hear for the rest of my life. Um, I hope that somebody hears it. I hope that somebody gets something from it. If we can connect on that level, and something touches you in there, yes, let's do that. I would love to hear how how that felt to you.
Yeah,
It helps me um, know that I'm giving what I need to give of myself. You
yeah.
know,
Friend, I will be in Nashville for sure.
you better come.
I will be there as soon as tickets are available. By golly, I am there.
Yeah, and as soon as I
That
have the dates, I'll let you know.
wonderful. You know, because I talk to a lot of business owners and builders and what have you, AI comes up a lot,
Hmm.
and it hit me while we were talking about this. There's a lot of jobs that will be gone because of AI. That's reality. I think I heard the other day 7 million truck drivers in the next 7 years won't have jobs, is what's being projected because of what's available now AI wise.
Hmm.
How do you think AI, in your opinion, how do you think AI is going to impact the music industry?
It's already impacting the music industry. If you can go Google how many AI artists there are out there right now that have a billion listens on
Wow.
Spotify. They don't exist, but they've been put through AI, and spit out a formulaic sort of song with a certain vibe. Because you just tell the prompt of what to do. I could spit out,
Right.
I don't know how many, as fast as AI can spit them out. I could spit out songs all day.
Yeah.
Um, but you can't they can't perform, right? You'll never
Yeah.
see that man or that woman in concert because they can't perform. It's only listening. And I think AI's changed the game on instrumentation and being able to create loops. I will tell you, on this 50 over 50 project, there are some songwriters who are not singers in this, because it started as a songwriting group. You don't have to be a great singer. You just had that you just wanted to share songs.
Yeah.
So there are some gentlemen in this group who are using, Suno or some other platforms to create by giving it the chord progressions of these songs to create the melody because they can't sing. And so then they're going to give that to actual musicians and singers like, here's my concept. Let's make this real. They're not going to use the AI version, but as a tool, I think it's fine for that. If there's something that you can't play or something that how you want it to go, like me, I can play all these parts on a keyboard with a different patch, and I can make it sound like strings, or I can make it sound like any other instrument by playing on the keyboard. So as a tool, I think it's great, but I do know that those AI artists can't perform. You can't have an exchange with an AI artist. I think that was the most crazy thing when I was like, oh, they have 1 billion streams. Cool. Where are they playing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think AI is going to change a lot of things. I just hope that listeners and people who love to go to concerts and things stick with actual artists.
Yeah, you have to be in the room. You have to feel the energy. I mean,
Yeah.
that's reality. Because now we're just not like a spot that I'm ignorant in, which by the way, Kelly Bell says to let her know the Nashville dates too.
Oh, okay. Hi, Kelly.
Are they required to say they're AI generated songs?
On some level, yes, but I don't know to the extent what they have to disclose on that. So I'm sure there's some legislation swirling about
That's
for that.
crazy. Well, and
Yeah.
I heard there was an actor, a really big name actor, you'll probably know it off the top of your head, that was encouraging other actors to go out and trademark their voice
Hmm.
to make sure that
Right.
systems didn't start duplicating it. And then another large name, I think it was an actor, not an actress, also was getting their image somehow
Hmm.
trademarked. So AI couldn't use it. It's just to your point, it's a little crazy. And I
Right.
digressed, and we have a couple minutes left. I want to make sure we give everyone watch as much as we can.
Okay.
Uh, so when someone hears this new music, what do you hope they feel, not just about your story, but about their own?
Hope.
Mm,
I hope that they feel hope.
yeah,
That is the thread that runs through all of these songs is that, yes, this existed, but also this is how I got through it. Hope and joy. There's so much joy in a couple of these songs. I have a gospel choir from Nigeria that's going to record on these, and they're incredible. Like, I can't wait to get these songs finished. I can't wait for you guys to hear them. But I hope that you feel all of the things, but the resilience that lives in trauma and fear and sadness, and that you can come through these things on the other side. Like, do not give up. If you're
yeah,
sitting inside something, if something hurts and something is painful, maybe my journey, once you hear these songs and these lyrics, follow along, you'll know there is another side to this. Like, everything that I love to do disappeared one day, and it's
yeah,
back, and it's better than ever. And you just have to show up, and you have to keep hope, and you have to believe that someday, you know, everything that exists in you is going to be your happiness and your joy, and finding the thing in you that you're supposed to do or be or give or whatever.
yeah,
Everything is in you already. There's a song on this called You Still Shine, and it's beautiful. It's one of the ones that's going to have the choir on it. And everything you have, just like even biologically, everything's on board, honey.
yeah,
All your tools are on board. Everything that you need is here. Just you don't have to listen to the noise. The
yeah.
joy is there.
I think the biggest thing too is when people listen to it, and because again, I've heard some of the songs, and you and I sharing this common childhood trauma. Don't feel sorry for Melissa. Don't feel badly for
Mm-mm.
Melissa, right? The same for me. Whenever I did the TED Talk, And people are like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I'm like, there's nothing, one, there's nothing for you to be sorry for. Right.
Right.
And two, don't be, because things that happen to us that aren't within our control can end up shaping us in a positive way if we can recognize that we don't own that. And that's why I think speaking it out is so powerful and so important. So I look at this, Melissa, thank you. So before we go, if you think about what does it mean to make it count for you today, what does that bring up for you?
You know, you get to go through this life one time right now. You know, I don't know what's on the other side of it.
Sure.
I don't think any of us do right now exactly. But if this is just one chance, one run through, you know, if this is the dress rehearsal or if this is the performance,
Yeah.
you chase happiness, chase joy, chase peace. Find the thing that you love to do, that you get excited about, and chase that with everything that you have. You make that count. You find that thing and go with that. Go with that. That's your North Star. You know,
Absolutely.
if you have one chance at this, find that thing and chase the heck out of it.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, everyone who's watching. You can find Melissa's music currently under the title Mix Savage, which is MCSVG. Of course, clearly I had some pictures in the promo that also make it easy to find you. But if you all, if this is first time here, please subscribe, follow us. We'll be back again next week. But Melissa, I love you so much, friend, and couldn't be happier for you for sure. And we'll
Love
see
you. Thank you
everyone
so
next
much
week.
for having me.